So here we are. I wanted to pick up where we left off from the quick, almost 10-minute brown sound, more like 14 minutes from the last video, but still, I wanted to incorporate some effects into this because, as we all know, Eddie used some very key and trademark effects to create his more trademark sound, specifically around the use of phasers, flangers, and even a little touch of delay here and there. And those things are found all over those early records, and even today, he still tends to favor those particular effects. So let's start off with this particular patch right here. This is the one we left off. This is exactly the patch as I recorded that video a couple days ago. I want to tweak a couple things before we get going. A quick thank you to someone who mentioned that I forgot to actually tweak the threshold here on the reverb. And unless you tweak this reverb threshold, the attenuator doesn't kick in. Here's the reverb where we stand now. And again, pretty reverby, but that's what we're going for here with the recreation of the Van Halen sound. If I crank this down a little bit and play, and then crank the threshold back up again, I like it with the threshold for the Van Halen sound somewhere around 25. The reverb's still there, but the sound of the guitar pokes up above, or more accurately, I should say, the reverb ducks under the sound of the guitar. Second change I want to make real quick. You know, I got through that video without really even messing around with the Variac setting, which was somewhat intentional. I didn't include the Variac in my notes for the first video. But if you're so inclined and you really want to go with a very accurate Van Halen-esque sound, turn the Variac down. And this simulates what Eddie was doing with an actual physical Variac by lowering the voltage coming from the wall into the amp. And it kind of browns out the tone even more. Back up to 100. Back to 80. So you can get a feel for it's a subtle difference. I think it makes a bigger difference in the feel. I like it both ways. And in fact, as I said in my last video, mess around with these knobs. Crank the voltage up. See what happens. I kind of like that too. I will say that it almost sounds brownier to me with it up high. Oh well, I can't play that song at all. I'll probably cut that out of the video because that will just be embarrassing. Okay, let's start popping some effects into this guy. So I think first thing is first, let's go with the phaser. And this is a fairly easy addition. I'm going to pop phaser 1 in to the effect block. I'm going to choose a script 90. And in today's quantum world, remember we're at quantum version 1, this phaser sounds really good. The only things I do to it is, of course, lower the rate to its lowest point. And I like the mix somewhere around 35%, somewhere in that neck of the woods. And then the one little trick I do is I boost the level coming out of the phaser. And that's to make up for the fact that I'm kind of a crummy player in terms of comparison to Eddie, right? I like a little more gain cranking through when I do this. So we've saved the patch. I've got my MFC 101 hooked up, and I can turn the phaser on and off. So here's it. Here's the sound off. Now on. You know, the famous. So this is a pretty easy addition here as far as effects go. But I also want to, if we're going to do the whole atomic punk thing, let's do it all the way. So I'm going to drop a delay in front of the amp here. That's real key. Eddie wasn't putting delays into an effects loop back in the day. He may have added some post delay, you know, after the guitar was recorded, but for this particular effect, it works best when it's in the front of the amp. Notice I'm sticking with the digital mono. I'm making this super easy. I'm taking the time down to 84 milliseconds, and then I put the mix, again, I kind of prefer the mix for these things to be somewhere in the 30% range. You can take it up or down as you need to. Let's turn the delay off. I'm going to save this and load it back up into my MFC. And now I have my delay set. So here we go with Atomic Punk right at the beginning. So all I'm doing is turning on and off the delay. Here's it with it off, here's with it on. Off, on. So it's a real short delay, and it gives it that crazy, it makes it sound like you're doing this. When you're not really. It's this. All right, let's move on to the flanger. It's difficult to do songs like Unchained without the real trademark heavy Van Halen flanger to go along with it. So let's jump here into Axe Edit and load up flanger number 1. I prefer to use the analog mono version of the flanger that comes with the Axe effects. I like the rate to be around 0.22. I crank up the depth to 100% and put the feedback up around 70%, somewhere in that area. The mix at 100. And pretty much everything else stays the same. You may want to mess with this high cut depending on how bright or how dark your guitar is. I find that this is sort of the key to tweaking it for various guitars. And you may also want to mess with this delay time to get the sweep correct if it doesn't quite sound right with your gear. But I think what we're going to hear here, you'll see it's pretty close. So let me save this. Turn off the flanger. Reload my preset. And we're ready to go. Let's see how this sounds. So that's pretty good. I think between the phaser, the various little delays, and the flanger setting, we've pretty much nailed some of the trademark Van Halen sounds for effects on top of the Brown sound. Tune in for video number 3, and I'll try to cover another couple delay settings, as well as the chorus setting that's found on like Diver Down era Van Halen. So again, thanks for watching, thanks for your support, and I'll see you soon.